I'm Mike with List 25, and here are 25 real historical people and events that almost seem fictional, like Star Wars, which, as we all know, happened a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away.
Star Wars is fictional.
Or so it seems. Wilmer Mclean's farm. The first battle of the American Civil War, Bull Run, started on Wilmer Mclean's farm. To get away from the fighting, he moved his family over 100 miles to Appomattox Courthouse in Virginia. On April 9, 1865, he got a knock on the door asking if the South's surrender could be negotiated in his house. So the war both started and ended on his property.
24.
Tycho Brahe. This Danish nobleman was kidnapped by his uncle at a young age. His parents apparently didn't care. He owned a pet elk until it got drunk, fell down a staircase, and died. And he allegedly died due to bladder issues after refusing to use the bathroom. Wow. I do not remember that penny arcade strip.
23.
The Tulip Bubble. During the 17th century, the price of tulips in the Netherlands skyrocketed, with some costing more than an entire house. Needless to say, this was one of the first examples of a financial bubble that we have on record. And yes, the bubble eventually burst when people quit buying such ridiculously expensive tulips.
22.
Washington, D.C., circa 1812. Right after the British burned it down in 1812, it was hit by a hurricane and a tornado, simultaneously.
21.
Operation Mincemeat. During World War II, the Allies took a dead, homeless man out of the morgue, dressed him up as a high-ranking military officer, and threw his body overboard off the coast of Spain. It was intended to mislead the Nazis about possible landing points for future invasions.
20.
Napoleon versus Bunnies. One of Napoleon's biggest defeats was at the hands of fuzzy wuzzy bunny rabbits. Napoleon had suggested a rabbit hunt for his court, but as soon as the gamekeepers released the rabbits, they all turned on Napoleon. He retreated to his coach, but the rabbits were relentless. Apparently, the rabbits had mistaken his coach for that of their keeper, and they thought Napoleon was bringing them food.
19.
Jimmy Carter versus Bunny. President Carter was another world leader who had a run-in with rabbits. Well, it was actually just one rabbit. While out on a fishing trip, a large hare came swimming towards his boat, and he apparently tried shooing it away. The next day, headlines read, "President attacked by rabbit."
18.
Civil War Spectators. During the early battles of the American Civil War, the Union thought they would win so decisively that rich Northerners would bring lunches and picnic on nearby hills as they watched the fighting. Needless to say, it was a bad idea.
17.
Hannibal. He took an army of elephants across the Alps, and if you've ever seen the Alps, you know why that's impressive. Although many died, enough made it to Rome to scare the daylights out of the Romans. Oh, the living daylights. Oh, the living daylights. Skidalip.
16.
Hawaii. This is the original spelling of Hawaii. There are places in the Pacific Northwest with this name because they were explored by expeditions of which members were Hawaiian.
15.
Christmas Truce of 1914. On Christmas Day, in the middle of World War I, there was a point on the front lines where both sides called a ceasefire, exchanged gifts, and even played a game of football, or soccer. The next day, they refused to shoot at each other, and the commanders had to replace all of their men.
14.
Ernest Hemmingway. When his plane crashed in Africa, newspapers printed obituaries for Ernest and his crew. A few days later, they were found in the jungle and flown out for medical attention. Their plane crashed again. Ernest and his crew survived again.
13.
Adolf Hitler. He was big on women's and animals' rights. In fact, he was even a vegetarian. In some ways, Hitler would have been the charismatic hipster kid in your college class. Don't trust that kid. No, I'm joking about not trusting the charismatic hipster kid in your class. I'm sure he's a great guy.
12.
The Children's Crusade. This disastrous crusade was started by a boy that claimed to have a vision for a crusade. He rallied numerous other children to his cause, but as they marched towards the Holy Land, most of them were captured and sold into slavery. As a note, this account is based largely on anecdotal evidence.
11.
John Tyler. He was the 10th President of the United States, and as of this recording, 2 of his grandsons are still alive.
10.
Andrew Jackson's Parrot. He was removed from Jackson's funeral because he swore too much. What? Cut that. That was a horrible one.
9.
Taiping Rebellion. This war that ended up killing tens of millions of Chinese was started by a peasant who believed he was the younger brother of Jesus. He even sent a letter to the British asking them questions like how tall Jesus was and how long he had kept his beard. Some consider it to be one of history's stranger diplomatic interactions.
8.
The Narrative of Arthur Gordon Pym of Nantucket. Written by Edgar Allan Poe in 1838, the book describes how the crew of a ship called the Grampus were adrift in the ocean. They caught a turtle and ate it, but they were going to need more food. By drawing straws, they decided to kill a crew member named Richard Parker and eat him. Edgar himself described the plot as silly. The crazy part? In 1884, a yacht called the Mignonette sank on its way from England to Australia. The crew was adrift in a raft when they caught a turtle and ate it. Also, one of the crew members was named Richard Parker. He was eaten too.
7.
Wreck of the Titan. This book was about an unsinkable ship that hits an iceberg in the North Atlantic and sinks. It was published 10 years before the Titanic hit an iceberg in the North Atlantic and sank.
6.
The creation of the Secret Service. Ironically enough, it was created by Lincoln on the exact day that he was assassinated. It's worth noting, however, that its original intention wasn't to protect the president, but rather to combat counterfeiting.
5.
The Singing Baltic Countries. Latvia, Estonia, and Lithuania basically sang their way to freedom. In fact, it has even been called the Singing Revolution from 1987 to 1991. Man, Eurovision was intense back then.
4.
Lichtenstein invades Italy. During the Austro-Prussian War of 1866, Liechtenstein invaded Italy with 80 men, and ended up coming back with 81. Apparently, they made a friend.
3.
Ketchup medicine. In the early 19th century, ketchup was sold as medicine. Apparently, a manufacturer had started selling it as Dr. Miles's compound extract of tomato that could supposedly cure all sorts of ailments. I have French fries that are ailments. I'm going to cure them with ketchup. And my tummy. I'm on a diet. Stupid French fries.
2.
Tamerlane. One of the Mongols who conquered Asia, Tamerlane was buried in a tomb in Samarkand. The inscription on the tomb read, "Whoever opens my tomb shall unleash an invader more terrible than I." Soviet archaeologists opened it on June 20th, 1941. A few days later, Germany invaded the USSR.
1.
Anything Caligula did. He once marched his army towards the English Channel because he wanted to invade Britain. When he got there, he changed his mind. So he had his men collect seashells and then march home. And he made a horse a senator. Weird guy.
Enjoying our lists? Be sure to click that subscribe button in the top right corner so you don't miss out on new ones every Monday through Friday. Share them with your friends and help us consistently conciliate curiosity. And if you want even more lists, check out these 2 videos here, or just head to our website at list25.com.